Gentle, somber music begins, underscored by the distant, chilling memory of a howl. 3 nights. 3 nights since the howl first tore through the quiet of Dunkelwald. 3 nights since the shadow fell upon our homes, a chilling promise of what was to come. We thought we were safe, nestled in our valley, protected by the ancient woods. But the forest has a memory, and sometimes it wakes up hungry. Adelheid, the old woman who speaks to the whispers of the wind, she warned us. She saw the signs in the flight of crows, in the silence of the crickets. She spoke of a hunger that walks on 4 legs, with eyes like embers and a voice that curdles the blood. We didn't listen. Not really. How could we? We are people of the earth, of sunlight and harvest. Such tales belong to the fireside, to frighten children. But then, the first scream echoed from the pastures, the first loss, and the story became real. The beast had come. Sound of wind and soft melancholic music, the clinking of shovels against dirt can be heard. The morning after the attack, a thick, mournful mist clung to the fields, as if the sky itself was weeping for us. It was a cold, grey world, everything washed in muted colours, the vibrant life of our village drained away. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and loss. We buried what was left of the flock. Good men, their faces etched with a grief deeper than any winter, worked in silence. Each shovelful of dirt was a prayer, a farewell. I remember standing there watching them, the cold seeping into my bones. It wasn't just the chill of the morning, it was fear. A deep, gnawing fear that this was only the beginning, that the forest's hunger, once awakened, would never be satisfied. We were a flock, just like the sheep, waiting for the predator to return. Every shadow seemed to lengthen, every rustle of leaves in the wind sounded like approaching paws. The Dunkelwald, the forest that had provided for us for generations, had become our cage. Sound of a crackling forge and the rhythmic, powerful ring of a hammer striking metal. But fear, when it's cornered, can sometimes forge its own kind of hope. And in Dunkelwald, hope has the sound of a hammer on steel. Hagen, our blacksmith, a man whose arms are as thick as oak branches and whose heart is just as strong, refused to let despair take root. He fired up his forge, the flames roaring to life like a defiant shout against the darkness. He wasn't just working iron, he was working silver. Every coin, every trinket, every heirloom the villagers could spare was brought to him. Silver, the metal of the moon, the one thing legends say can harm a creature of the night. I watched as sparks, like tiny, fleeting stars, flew from his hammer, each strike a promise of defiance. The smithy, usually a place of practical creation, became our sanctuary, a temple of resolve. The heat from the forge warmed our faces, chasing away the chill of fear, if only for a moment. It was more than metalwork, it was a ritual. We were forging our courage, piece by piece. One by one, people came forward. Old Thomas offered the silver buttons from his grandfather's wedding coat, young Alara her dowry coins, and then Ida, her face pale but her eyes resolute, stepped into the firelight. She held out the silver amulet her mother had given her, the one she never took off. It was a simple hammered disc, worn smooth by years of touch. She placed it in Hagen's calloused hand, a silent sacrifice. He nodded, his expression grim but respectful. We all watched, holding our breath, as he placed the precious silver into the crucible. The camera moves in close, so close you can almost feel the heat as the solid metal begins to shimmer, to lose its form, melting into a pool of liquid light. It was a potent symbol, our past, our memories, our hopes, all melting together, transforming into a single deadly purpose. A silver arrow, a single chance. The sound of the fire, the crackle and hiss, filled the silence, speaking of transformation and the terrible cost of survival. Music shifts, becoming more tense and rhythmic, like a slow, steady heartbeat, sounds of digging and ropes being pulled taut. With the arrow being forged, a new energy surged through the village. Fear was replaced by grim determination. The waiting was over. It was time to prepare. Under a sky bruised with the promise of a storm, we turned our village into a fortress, a trap. The men dug deep pits along the forest edge, their sides sharpened with stakes, hidden beneath a carpet of leaves and branches. We hung heavy nets between the ancient oaks, a web to catch a monster. Bruno, whose flock was the first to be taken, moved with a quiet, focused fury. He took up his grandfather's boar spear, its iron tip gleaming in the torchlight. He practiced for hours, his movements a deadly dance of thrusts and parries, his grief channeled into a sharp and lethal point. Every muscle, every motion was dedicated to a single violent purpose. We chose a lone sheep, a heart-wrenching bait, and tethered it in a small pen at the center of our trap. A sacrifice to save the rest of us. As dusk began to settle, Ida retrieved the finished arrow from Hagen. The torchlight danced across its surface, a sliver of moonlight captured and made solid. It was perfectly balanced, flawlessly crafted. She held it as if it were the most precious and most terrible thing in the world. As she turned it in her hands, a low rumble of thunder echoed from the mountains, a deep growl from the heavens answering the one from the woods. The sound seemed to vibrate in our chests, a prelude to the coming storm, both in the sky and on the ground. The drums in the soundtrack begin here, a slow, deep heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. It's the sound of our collective heart, pounding with dread and anticipation. The hunt was no longer something we feared. It was something we had called. And now we had to face whatever answered. The air grew thick, electric. Night was falling, and with it, the time of the beast was at hand. The heartbeat drum continues, becoming the dominant sound. The wind whistles softly. The night arrived, not with a gentle descent, but like a shroud being pulled over the world. A cold, unnaturally thick fog rolled in from the forest, swallowing the landscape, muffling all sound except for the frantic beating of our own hearts. It clung to the ground, a ghostly river flowing through the tall grass, coiling around the legs of the trees. Visibility dropped to mere feet. The traps we had so carefully laid were now invisible, even to us. The world shrank to the small circle of light cast by our hidden torches. We waited. The silence was a living thing, heavy and suffocating. The camera moves low, tracking through the wet grass, mimicking the point of view of something stalking its prey. It pushes toward the sheep pen, where the lone animal bleats softly, its fear a beacon in the oppressive quiet. The fog swirls and parts for a moment, and there, just behind the mist, 2 points of light glow with a malevolent, unnatural red. They are not the reflection of our torches. They are eyes. They burn through the fog, fixed on the bait, fixed on us. The camera holds on those eyes for a heart-stopping second, then cut to black. A deep guttural howl, closer than ever before, echoes in the darkness, and the hunt truly begins. Thank you so much for joining us on this terrifying journey back to Dunkelwald. The beast is here and the trap is set. What happens next, you'll have to come back for part 3 to find out. If you're on the edge of your seat like we are, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the conclusion. We love creating these stories for you, and your support makes it all possible. Drop a comment below and let us know what you think is going to happen. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one.